Now, going for product demo discovery, qualifying the attendees. So there's a very interesting fact by the research by Sales Benchmark Index shows. So if we do not conduct a discovery call, in this case, with our prospects, there's 73% less opportunity for winning after the demo, whereas demos that tie back to specific pain points that we discover in a first call are 35% more likely to win the deal. So, and then we have a quote by Rolf Falconi, which I'm going to read, but you can read it yourself. A well-prepared demo is obvious. It can be interrupted multiple times. It can be fast-forwarded and rewinded without flustering the speaker. It only shows what the audience needs to see to come to a decision. It comes off as effortless. So this is actually tied back to one of the points or the deadly sins that I mentioned, which is not taking too long with your demo to give space to Q&A, which is well demonstrated by the quote of Robert Falcone, or Falcone. I really know how that's pronounced. Okay, so there are another 7 points that we can go through about qualifying attendees. So the first one is know the prospect's evaluation criteria. And what this helps me is understand what features to show and know how to create a workflow for the demo so I can be better prepared. If I didn't do this, it would be very hard to connect with the attendees and also connect the dots between what problems they're facing and what benefits they want to make. So yeah, for example, for Nimble, they usually want, they're looking for evaluation criteria that the app is very easy to use. It's a centralized EHR. That means that it can be accessed by anyone everywhere. That it has scheduled reminders. They can document what products and services they are offering to their patients. They have a consultation report so they can measure physicians' activity, and also if they have the management for inventory. And what this helps me is focus on the second point, which is customize demo to your prospect desired outcomes. So if I already know what it's going to be the evaluation criteria, I can very easily know how to structure my own demo so I can show what is the desired outcome or this vision that the prospect can have on his head of what would be his life with Nimble. And the third point, for example, is know your audience to match their workflows. So a demo is very different for a single physician as whereas to an admin for a clinic because they want to know different things. It would be also very different for a general physician versus a physician with a very specific specialty because what they want to see, what custom forms they would use, it would be very distinct one from another. So in this type of scenario, I always get to ask myself, what do they want to know, or what insights can I give them based on this criteria? And the point 5 and 6, which is, point 4 and 5, which is what questions you want answered and what are the meaningful answers. This leads me to the process that we actually follow in Nimble when we are qualifying a prospect. So once we pass S1, which is interest, we go to S2, which is clarity. And here we have like a list of requirements of what we want to ask our prospect. So for example, what are they looking for in a solution that gives us like a view of what the problem is that they're having? Are they currently using another solution? Which one is it? Or how are they doing things right now if they do not have a digital solution? So tie it up to the past point is why is the current solution or work process not working for them? Why now do they need to change? And also it's super important to know what type of demo to give also is from 1 to 10, how important is this project in the organization? And from 1 to 10, how urgent do they need a solution for the project? And okay, so all these types of questions, what they help us is ask what we need to and have meaningful answers, because it actually gives us a lot of insight of how are they operating right now, what are their plans, and how are they planning to use Nimbo in their daily practice. Also, a pretty good tool to qualify attendees is the feature slash need matrix. And what this really is a simple matrix to rate the features presented from 0 to 10. So I can tell my prospect, like, okay, Nimbo has Nimbo Clinical, Nimbo Agenda, Nimbo Business, and Inventory Management. If you could rate all 4 of them from 0 to 10, which ones would you rate the highest? And maybe a physician would rate Clinical at a 10 and Agenda at maybe an 8 or 9, but Inventory Management and Business at a 3 or a 4 because it's not a priority. But an admin for a clinic, would rate maybe Nimbo Clinical at a 7 or 8, Medical Agenda maybe at a 10, Business at a 10, and Inventory Management from 8 to 10. So this gives me also a lot of insight of how they will be using Nimbo, why are these features very important to them, and what to focus on the demo. And also that leads me to the next point, which is knowing which features not to demo. Because if I know that what they need and what they want is Nimbo Clinical and Nimbo Business, I will not be giving in the demo or wasting time on the demo to show the medical agenda and the inventory management. Maybe after finishing my demo, I would ask the prospect, would you like to see these other features that we have? But it wouldn't be my main focus. So to give an example for qualifying attendees, for Copa Salud, which is a client that we recently acquired, the physicians have seen demos of Nimbo, and they are very excited of how they will be using it on their daily practice. And Nimbo has these demos by feature, by Nimbo Clinical, by Nimbo Agenda, and by Nimbo Business. And this client acquired only Nimbo Clinical and Nimbo Agenda, but the physicians are very excited about using it because it seems fun, it seems easy to use, and it actually solves a real problem. So that's also part of the importance of knowing what features they want to know and what features they need that solve a real problem. Here's another quote. And demonstrating isn't a contest of more, it's actually a contest of more relevance. So keep that in mind. It's actually very important to know what is actually relevant and to get out all the rest. So now we're moving on to how to schedule product demo appointments. So we have another 6 points. So they use to schedule a demo. It's very important that we use the insights of what objectives they want to achieve. So, for example, I just showed you in the sales process that we have in Nimbo and what kind of questions that we ask before actually making a demo. So we already have some insights of what objectives they need, how urgent it is, how important it is also, and what type of features they expect to see on the demo. So having this in mind helps us plan ahead of what are the selling points in the demo and how I can tell them this specific feature will solve this specific problem that you have, and you will obtain this benefit in X time, for example. So I can give an example. If I was telling my prospect about what insights of objectives he would need to achieve, I would tell them in the call. So usually after some of our prospects see the demo, they already know that Nimbo helps them reduce the no-shows from patients. It will help them increase revenue, and it will also help them have a better follow-up on patient treatments. So you can either lose time watching other solutions, looking at documentation, and getting to know which one is the best. Or you could have a 30-minute demo or 20-minute demo with me, and you can see that Nimble solves these problems, and you can start in the next 5 minutes after watching the demos. So then again, knowing which objectives and pain points the prospect has gives us a very important insight on how selling the demo, so we can schedule it on the moment and assuring the prospect will want to attend the demo. Which takes me to the point 2 and 3, which is attending the demo must equal saving time for the prospect, but also it must mean that after seeing the demo, he will be more successful. He or she will be more successful. The 4th point is that we need to obtain commitment for the demo during the call. So then again, it's a very common mistake that I actually did a lot, which was during this qualifying call, I would tell them exactly what I just told you, like these are the benefits, this is how you will be, this is what I will be showing you, you should attend because it's very important for this and that. They would be thrilled. They would be telling me like, okay, yeah, I want to have a demo with you. And I would tell them like, okay, that's great. So I'll send you my times. You can enter my specific meeting link and you can schedule a time and day with me. Goodbye, goodbye. And then we would end the call, and obviously I wouldn't have the commitment from my prospect to actually go or attend to the demo. So I had a lot of no-shows to my demos. And what the book says, and what I learned the hard way, was just close the commitment during the call of qualification. So instead of saying that, like, hey, here's my meeting link, tell them, you know what, I have time tomorrow at 12 p.m. Would that work for you? And that will start a conversation about what times and hours are actually best. That will lead to the commitment of making the schedule for the appointment. Something also very important that the book mentions, and it's actually something that we do during the sales process, is invite the decision makers always. Because if we do not invite the correct decision makers, we will never know if it's the appropriate person that we're talking to, or is it like maybe, again, maybe it's a student and we show a demo to a student, and at the end of the demo, we find out that he's not the right person to make a decision, or that he's not going to buy. And the last point is reconfirm the appointment as needed. So what I usually do to make sure that a prospect is going to attend to the demo is, after obtaining the commitment in the call, I send him or her a Google Calendar event with the Zoom meeting link and an email confirming the appointment. In the previous days, maybe 2 to 3 days before, I send them a message either via email or WhatsApp to then again reconfirm the appointment. And on the same day, I also sent another reminder to confirm or reconfirm the appointment. And this has helped me diminish the no-shows and have more product demos that are actually meaningful with the right people that I want to. Okay, now we're going to go to the part of how to give product demos. So the workshop is called Product Demos that Sell, and that's the main focus. But it's also very important, and it's something that we usually don't have a lot of focus on, is the planning before and the steps before giving the product demo, which are the ones that I already talked about. And it helps us, or me specifically, have a lot of insight of how to give the product demo properly and follow up with a sale. So now proceeding to how to give the product demos. And the first step to giving a product demo is the preparation for the demo itself. And usually what I do, the first thing to do is prepare all my tools. What am I going to use? Am I going to have certain tabs open? Like in this case, I have, for example, I have the Google Sheets for the sales stages, so I can show you the Woodtrick tool, some support presentations that I need, the app, and also my Google Calendar events, so I can reopen the meeting in any case it closes. So always having your tools ready is super important. Making sure that the audio and the space that you're working on is set is very important. After I have all my tools and stuff prepared, what I focus on is creating on a script for my demo. And what I do is practice a lot. So what making a script helps me is knowing which points I need to cover, how the workflow is going to go, and having an agenda on this is what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to say this selling point. I'm going to give this a specific fact. I'm going to stop here for a minute and then ask some questions so we can move on, etc. So having a script helps me structure mentally and also having an agenda that I can follow up. And in any case that the client maybe wants to move forward or backwards, or maybe wants to see something else, I'm already prepared for that type of changes. And the part of practice is really, really important. Practice makes perfect. And that takes me to the third point, which is do a full run of the demo with one of your colleagues or another colleague. And in here, usually at the beginning, what I did was I asked Rodrigo and Jorge Luis that they see my full run demo and they would give me feedback 1 or 2 times. And after that, I will be kind of ready to give the demo. And well, it is that, no? If you can do a full run of the demo with 1 or 2 colleagues, so you can obtain feedback and know how to have better selling points or better points of view or have more insight on how to do certain things, it will help you a lot in giving a better product demo. And that takes me to the fourth point, which is have some lines or selling points and facts ready to use with your client. So in Nimbo, what I focus a lot on is on facts about reducing churn from patients or no-shows, increasing revenue, and also how, for example, Nimbus uses smart suggestions for the diagnostics and the medical prescriptions, so you can have a more accurate treatment for your patient. And these are some of the facts and also selling points that physicians usually love. But when it's about a decision maker that's higher up in the structure, which can be an admin for a clinic, what they're interested on is on information or tools that help them take better decisions. So then I talk about the report consultations and how they can see how many no-shows they're having and pair that with the charges report to know how much it costs per lost no-show and how they can take action. So having down the script also helps me know the selling points that they will that will have a very good impact on the prospect. Also, it is very different having a placeholder information versus John Doe. And John Doe means it's just like a dummy patient that we have. And for example, this is a John Doe, which is an empty patient with no information. And then I proceed maybe to show you an empty consultation. And I did this, and it does not look professional. The physician won't relate to it because there's no information. It does not show any credibility or expertise on your side. So it is very hard this way to actually have prepared something like, for example, the templates, which is a very good feature. So it is a lot better to prepare a use case that has information that actually, well, the physician or the person, the prospect that you're giving the demo to can relate to. So for example, this is a psychiatric patient. No, sorry, pediatrician patient. And it has a lot of information. And usually when I show this to a physician, they ask a lot of questions because they see a lot of terminology that they can relate to, information that they usually input on, and so on and so forth. And it also shows credibility because if the terminology is correct, the physician will know that we have expertise on the subject and also how it works on their industry and how they work. So they will trust us a lot more when we tell them, like, you know what, this diagnostic for the patient is actually very specific and it's actually very accurate because Nimbo has an AI system that will help you with your specialty and the information that you are using on the current consultation to have a more accurate diagnostic, for example. So remember, oh, sorry, it's this one. Use placeholder information versus only John Doe. And the point that I already made, have an agenda, which is know when to stop, when to take breaks, when you need to regain the attention of the prospect, and use your script to know if you're following the workflow that the prospect will resonate to. And also there's like less than a minute for this Zoom meeting. So I'm gonna end it. And if some of you guys actually want to continue watching the workshop, you can enter again. We're on the preparation for the demo, and okay, now we can move on to giving the demo actually. And it consists of 4 very important points. And the first one is structure and open your demo. So it is important to have like a general blueprint demo that you can give. This is the one that you will dominate naturally. For me, is an Nimbo general demo with the patient Alejandro Reyes, which has a clinic case that is for general physicians and shows a lot of the functionality of Nimbo, but only the overview of the most important parts. And I love it because it's actually a very quick run, and shows then again, the most important points that you should know about Nimbo. But I also have a pediatric case with Lucio Ramirez that helps me show all the functionality respecting very specific specialties. Then again, Paulina, which was a member of the customer success team of Nimbo, worked on a gynecobstetric clinic workflow use case, which is a very robust one and shows a lot of the potential of the consultation features and focuses a lot on the use of Nimbo Clinical and Nimbo Agenda. And that's also another workflow that works very, very well. And I also have another one, which is home visits use case, which is using Nimbo in mobile that maybe you wouldn't do that regularly, but some users, which are actually like 56% of the users that visit Nimbo, use Nimbo on mobile. So it is very relevant giving a demo also for home visits in a mobile version. So what I wanted to tell here really is that having blueprints for distinct type of demos will show that you have a lot of dominance in the product, a lot of knowledge on distinct industry pain points and also benefits that you can give. And we'll have already like these templates of these distinct use cases that you can use whenever and with whichever type of prospect. So another very important point, whenever you go into a pitch, which is a pitch for the demo, always take a couple of moments to prepare and be very clear about the 3 main points you want to make. This will be the highlights that the customer will take away. So for example, I already know that for some physicians and some clinics, it is very important that a better patient care, diminishing the no-shows, and have a better consultation. I forgot the word, but giving better consultations to the patients, it's a very tangible pain point for these clinics. So maybe this should be the focus of, or the 3 main points that I want to make sure that the prospect remembers. Or maybe it is about how the medical agenda is very easy to use and can be managed by a single person to manage multiple agendas, and have management control also is a very real pain point for some clinics. And maybe also to focus on the custom forms that we can create on a specific client, maybe that's also a very specific pain point for some clients. So then again, what I want to really tell you is that these are the three main pain points that I want to focus on the demo, and this helps me focus on what to show then again in the demo, and having the prospect or making sure that the prospect is following me properly with these three main pain points. So also very important, always give the big picture first, which is going from the macro to the micro. And what the macro means is that it helps us create a vision for the prospect and help them visualize how they would be using it, how they would be having like this perfect version of the benefits. So it would be like managing them plus Nimbo equals a very good place that they want to be on, and that's giving them sorry the macro vision, and that naturally gives us the opportunity to have these certain questions and details to go through that will guide us in the right way naturally of going into the micro level, which is maybe seeing specific features, seeing specific details of the app, and this leads us to the Q&A section, which is the question and answers. So, for example, to give you an example from going to macro to micro, you can read it, then again, I'm going to read it. You said you need a better way of managing your patient's flow because right now it's a mess from always manually in paper scheduling the encounters. We've solved this problem for you. I can show you how the medical agenda helps you automate the process and help you deal with no-shows. Does this sound interesting, appealing to you? And this very short phrase gives the prospect some context, helps them understand the benefit, and also I'll confirm if the feature actually has relevance or it does not with the patient. I mean, the prospect, not the patient. And here are some other quotes that I really liked. So, your product demo is only as good as the problem it can solve for someone. What I want to hear during a demo is what problems you are solving and for whom, not a laundry list of features of your product. And this ties up to one of the deadly sins, which was showing product tools instead of showing value. And to end this, a demo allows the customer to see and feel how things will be better if they buy and worse if they don't. So going on to the next point of giving the demo is having an effective engagement with the prospect. And there's another quote which says, people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. And that is very important and relevant at the moment of giving a demo. And this leads me to how to make them feel, which is speaking their language. It's very important to make an effort to study the terminology. And for Nimbo, I tell the customer success team that before giving a demo, it's very, very important that you structure your clinical case for the demo so you can know what terminology the physician will ask you or with what terminology he will relate to. And if it's maybe business terminology, know what KPI means or what type of KPIs are they want to measure and what that means on the business side and decision making side. And also, very important, and this is like a very small one, but handle your mouse like a pro while giving a demo. Because it's very different to be doing very smooth movements with the mouse versus like being like this all the time and maybe it distracts me a lot and I will be focusing on the mouse moving so weirdly instead of focusing on the content of the demo and the value itself. Also, as I already mentioned, highlight the highlights. So if you know that you're going to mention a very important feature and you are not really sure if you have the attention of the prospect or if he is understanding the context of the value of this specific feature, it's very important to actually get them on the context and help them understand that what you are about to show them is something that's very relevant to them and is very important. And for this point, I would like to tell you actually a case with Baguedo when they came here to Mexico, to the offices, to get to know the team and the product and other things. So I was giving a Nimbo demo, and at certain point, I was in the consultation report about to show how to create a no-show report. And what this helped me do is show graphically how many consultations they were losing. Then I passed on into the charges report, and I said, okay, so we have 10 absences from this specific patient. Let me check how much money I am losing per consultation missed. And I said, okay, well, I am missing close to $15. That means X number of dollars because of this number of consultations. And I was about to move on to the next point and finish the demo, closing it. And then one of the guys, one of the prospects, just had like this wow or aha moment. He said, "Whoa, wait! So you're telling me that with these two reports, I can know how much money I am losing and how much money I can get back?" And I was like, "Well, yes, that's one way to put it." And what this really is this was a wow moment because it related very well with the specific case that they had. They have or had like 17,000 patients that were absent, and they have another 17,000 that were current and active. So they said if we could just have 30% of those 17,000 absent, we would be having a lot of return of investment just for buying Nimble. And that was a very good impression. They started talking about, their consultation reports and how they could be using it and how they could be having a lot more revenue if they use reminders and other stuff. And it was a very simple feature and transition, but it helped a lot on having that wow moment. So then again, that told me that, okay, that specific flow that I just made will lead my prospect to an wow moment or an aha moment. So the next time that I give in a demo, this must be a highlight that I need to highlight. And that was it. That's what I wanted to share. And that takes me to my next step, which is adapt the workflow and use the product according to the prospect's references. So if I know that a prospect that I'm going to give a demo matches the same style that the Baguedo client has, I know that I need to show this specific workflow that I just talked about because it will lead them to an aha moment. And the last one is ask questions that contextualize the value you provide. So how does this work? So let's imagine I am having a conversation with someone I want to sell to. And what I say is, okay, Fatima, tell me how many no-shows you're having per week. And Fatima says, maybe close to 7. Then I say, okay, well, that, and how much are you charging per consultation? You said it was close to $50, right? Fatima would say, yeah, that's actually correct. Then I would say, all right, so that means that at month you lose close to $500. The medical ninja of Nimbo will help you diminish these no-shows and increase your revenue by 33%. Would you like me to show you how to recover this money? And okay, so that's some type of questions that help them contextualize the value that I am providing. In this specific case, I started with, okay, so you have this specific pain point which is no-shows. And a no-show to you represents a cost either in time or in value. So if I could help you have a return on time and value that you lost, would you be interested in watching me do it? The answer would be obviously yes, because it is time and money that they do not have now. So that's some type of questions that contextualize the value that you provide. And also, almost done. To ensure, it is also very important to ensure the three most important points to stick. And this is a point that I mentioned earlier, to always have what are the three main points that you want the customer or the prospect to take away while giving the demo. So when you're about to close the demo, it is very important and also relevant to ask your prospect, what are the highlights of these conversations to you? What is the most interesting thing that you learned today that you're taking away? Did you find this or that the most impactful, or what did you find the most impactful? So if somebody asks you tomorrow to describe what you just saw today or what we discussed today, how would you summarize it? Or how would you tell our conversation went? And having that feedback from your prospect helps you validate certain information that you already gave or reinforce certain value points that you gave. And for finishing the demo, always end with a close. And this is one of the deadly sins that I mentioned at the beginning. So what's your closing statement? It better be a strong, clear call to action, as I said, and it should help you take the prospect to the next step. What do you need them to do? So make sure you obtain a commitment during the closing of the demo. So, for example, how we do this in Nimbo is we reach the demo, which is S3 or follow-up, and the next step that we want to make is understand the administrative needs and move the deal to a stage that helps us develop the opportunity. And here we ask about some goals. How are they planning to acquire the software? How are they making the decision? What factors or requirements are they looking for? How is the evaluation process? And other stuff that helps us get a better idea of how to move the deal forward. So closing the demo with this next step helps us move the deal faster and obtain the commitment from the prospect. So actually, I think that's, oh no, the last part, which is involve the prospect in the demo process. And this is a very quick part. So involving the prospect for Nimbo means using some features that actually help us engage verbally or visually with the person we are giving the demo to. So in Nimbo, we usually use the schedule a reminder for the patient, so we can send the reminder to the prospect itself, or maybe send the medical prescription so he can see how he can visualize, or his patients will be seeing the medical prescription sent via email. The patient portal for scheduling also helps a lot on having a vision of how it will work, sending the email and SMS reminders, or also for the physicians, something as simple as adapting the medical prescription or the specialty forms helps a lot on involving the prospect in the process. So from this slide, what I would ask you is, what are the features that help you involve the prospect in the process while giving your demo? And why is this important? Because then again, if we have their attention and their involvement, they will be more committed, which will help us secure the deal. And well, thank you. That would be all. And we could actually have a Q&A session, or if nobody has questions, we could end the workshop. You can put them in the chat if you have any, or speak also. Okay, great. I don't see any in the chat. Nobody's. I don't know if somebody's talking. I can hear anyone. Are people talking? Sorry, for some reason I actually cannot hear Axel asking the question. Axel, could you put it on the chat? Yeah, sure, sure. Okay, that's actually a very interesting and important question. How do you incorporate storytelling in your demos? So how I involve them is, as I said, I usually for my demos I create a clinical case, which is emulating how a physician would make his daily practice. So I grab a case, which is maybe a clinical case about a pediatric patient, and I create a story. This is a pediatric patient which was referred from a hospital, and he has X, Y, and Z of some of his symptoms. So now, as a physician, I'm going to proceed to make this specific procedure, and well, then I continue to tell what a physician would do and that specific uh, physician workflow. And that is a clinical case, but how I tell it is a story, like, okay, I'm a physician, so usually what I do on my day-to-day basis is attend patients. So if I can show them a story about a patient, how a physician would solve this specific situation using Nimbo, that's the way I use storytelling. I don't know if that answered the question or partially answered the question, but that's the way that I use storytelling on the product demos. Yeah, no problem. I usually have, so for remote demos, camera on or off. I do have it on. Um, it helps me engage better with the prospect before actually starting to share my screen. It helps them actually see me, how I am, how I speak, how I physically move, so they can relate a lot more. And well, yeah, seeing a friendly face is better than just watching a cold screen. So I always leave it on if I can. Sometimes I flex during demos. Depends on if I am losing the client's attention. Uh, I don't know if anyone else is talking. Then again, I cannot hear anyone talking for some reason. So if you want to put in the chat any questions or comments, yeah, sure, I can share it with you. I will be sharing it through Slack. I think in general it would be a very good place. Yeah, no problem. So also, if you wanna dig in a lot more on this subject, there's a book here on EcoWork that is called exactly like this presentation, which is product demos that sell. And the founder from Close.io gives a lot of insight of these specific points that we went through and how to. Oh, well, it goes a lot through the details of how making it. Okay, coordinating your speech while doing the demo is one of the hardest things to do in a demo. Any tips on that? Yeah, it's actually very hard. And maybe it translates to your case, maybe not. I hope it does. But the way that it has helped me is practicing the product demo or run the full product demo with somebody else. So I was mentioning that usually I do this with Rodrigo or Jorge Luis, and well, I give the demo with them, I show them at the same time, and I give them my selling points like if it was a real demo. And when I was doing this at the beginning, I did have a lot of problem with the coordination. Um, but they gave me some feedback about like, okay, maybe have on the script specific points of what you want to say and what you want to do. So with a very specific phrase, not something very detailed, I would know, okay, so I'm gonna show this specific feature and I'm gonna talk about this. And with the practice and the feedback that they gave me, I already knew that, well, by seeing it, I would already be prepared for coordinating the demo and also the part of telling what I wanted to tell. I hope that helps. Sure. But yeah, I think the main takeaway there is sharing it with someone so you can have feedback um, on that is the best part on mitigating the hardest part, which is things to say in a demo while doing the demo. Okay, are there any other questions or maybe that's it? If that's it, then we can actually finish the session or the workshop. I don't know how to call it, but I'll say workshop. So thanks a lot for attending and asking your questions and taking your time. Have a great weekend. See you there.